Can a single act of betrayal, really echo through a whole decade? Can it shape a kid's entire world, leave this deep mark?
It's a powerful question.
And when those old hurts are kept secret, just festering under the surface, what are the real obligations? Do you have to keep up this pretense of peace?
Or does that unspoken pain just build and build until it demands, well, something else entirely?
Exactly. This deep dive, it really forces us to question the hidden costs when families break apart, the silent toll of adult choices.
And today we're getting into a really personal story. It's about Alex, he's 16, and how he tried to express years of pent-up resentment.
Through a gift, right. A symbolic but
Yeah.
painful gift.
Yeah, exactly. It sparked this huge family debate, and then it went public, became this whole ethical discussion. It really shows the lasting impact of those early family decisions.
Like Alex's raw response to all that pain. It finally boiled over.
It did. A child finding his voice after years of silence, even if, it came with a heavy emotional price.
Yeah, let's really unpack this. There's so much here. So Alex's story, as he tells it, starts when he was just 10. His parents were married, had 2 kids. Well, Alex is the focus. We assume there's another sibling.
Right. His narrative is intensely personal.
Then his mother cheated. And he's very clear it wasn't just on his dad. It felt like she cheated on them, on the family unit.
That's a really important distinction for a child's perspective. The betrayal feels total.
And then she left. He describes his family, his home, his sense of security just vanishing. A blur of confusion and pain. That's how he put it.
Devastating for a 10-year-old. That core stability just disappears.
He remembers the aftermath wasn't loud arguments, but this chilling quiet. His dad's sorrow was visible like a weight.
And for Alex, that absence, that emptiness, he said it felt like a giant hole opened up in my chest. You can almost feel that physical ache.
Yeah. And meanwhile, his mother moves on quickly, builds a new life with the man she cheated with.
And they soon have 2 new daughters.
Right. Creating what Alex saw as this perfect family illusion, which for him was just this constant, sharp reminder of everything he'd lost.
And right there, that's the seed of this deep internal conflict for Alex. In those early years, he tried, He visited his mom on weekends, holidays, whatever the arrangement was.
He's still a kid wanting that connection.
Exactly. And his dad, described as adventurous, didn't stop him, which is a form of support, right? Not blocking that potential relationship.
Yeah, that's true. But those visits, they sound incredibly difficult.
They were, because he'd see his mom, maybe happy to see him, but then there's the new husband, the man at the center of the original family's destruction.
And the new daughters, symbols of her new, complete life.
Right. It wasn't just background noise. It was, as he said, a constant, sharp reminder of what I had lost. Every visit reopened the wound.
That sounds exhausting, especially for a kid.
Totally. An emotional tug-of-war he just couldn't keep up, so he started pulling away, slowly, painfully.
Choosing distance over that constant pain, it wasn't rejecting her, necessarily.
No, it feels more like self-protection, protecting himself from witnessing their, what he called, manufactured joy.
And that distance, it just hardened over time, didn't it? It became this silent boundary. He figured out that less contact meant less pain.
Which makes perfect sense. Seeing her happy with the new husband and that new life, it was just too much.
Yet his mother kept trying to bridge the distance, sending messages, calling, wanting to reconnect.
But here's the key part Alex emphasizes. She never seemed to understand why I couldn't.
The understanding wasn't there, the acknowledgement of the history.
Exactly. The chasm wasn't just physical distance, it was emotional, built on things left unsaid, unacknowledged by her. He didn't want anything to do with the new husband.
So the distance just grew, piece by painful piece, as he puts it.
And then the perfect storm happens. Dad's out of town. Grandparents are in Italy.
Nowhere else to go but Mom's house.
Right, and she jumps at the chance, maybe seeing it as an opportunity. But for Alex, it felt like a trap, pure dread.
And the timing. Oh, boy. Her anniversary with the new husband falls right in the middle of his stay.
You couldn't write it. His time there was exactly as bad as I expected. Avoidance, that knot in my stomach, the constant reminder.
And it's worth pointing out, like you said, this is all Alex's subjective experience. There's no formal clinical diagnosis mentioned for anyone. It's about the raw feeling of it all.
Precisely. The human experience of loss and trauma and how it shapes everything.
Yeah, that backdrop of the forced stay is just critical. He's basically trapped with his history, his main coping strategy, avoidance.
Locked in his room, making excuses to see friends. Anything to dodge that new family dynamic.
He talked about feeling invisible, watching them play this role of a perfect family, while his own childhood felt like ruins, that feeling of being replaced.
It's incredibly painful and leads to profound emotional exhaustion. Imagine the energy it takes to pretend, to suppress everything you're feeling, just to get through the day in that house.
Every polite nod, every forced smile, just draining him.
And we have to touch on the father's role again, that support he offered. It was complex.
Right, the not stopping him from seeing his mom was one thing, but discouraging therapy.
Yeah, he had his reasons for not wanting me to go to therapy, believed it would stir up old wounds. He just wanted Alex to move forward.
A protective instinct problem.
Almost certainly. But by doing that, he unintentionally blocked Alex from getting professional help. Help to process the abandonment, the betrayal, the deep trauma.
So Alex was left carrying this huge emotional weight alone.
Pretty much. Which, sets the stage perfectly, tragically, for what happens next.
And this whole situation just throws up so many tough dilemmas, doesn't it? Things that go way beyond just this one family.
Absolutely. At its core, you have this fundamental clash. Alex needs his pain seen, acknowledged. He wants his mother to understand the giant hole her choices left.
He's not asking her to undo the past, just acknowledge its impact on him.
Right. But then you have the mother seemingly wanting a normal connection, wanting him integrated into her new life.
But without really digging into why it's not normal for him. Like wanting the relationship on her terms without confronting the history.
Exactly. And then there are the vows, the obvious marriage vows broken by the cheating.
Which ended the adult relationship.
Like also, those unspoken vows to a child. The promise of stability, emotional safety, kids rely on that.
So when that breaks, how does it affect their trust, their sense of security? It's not just a marriage contract that's broken.
It's a foundational promise to a child, and its collapse felt like losing everything for Alex.
Yeah, and that brings up those really tricky, unspoken obligations of a child. Society often expects kids to just bounce back, forgive, move on, for the sake of family harmony.
But is Alex obligated to do that? To accept this new life, participate in what feels like a charade to him when he's internally devastated?
Or does he owe it to himself to be true to his own pain, even if it makes things uncomfortable?
It's that societal expectation versus personal truth. And what's really striking here is the lack of adequate emotional support from the mother, specifically about his feelings.
Her attempts to bridge the distance seem to miss the point.
They never addressed the root cause, his trauma. She wanted reconnection, but maybe only on the surface. It seems she prioritized her new happiness, her life with the new husband and 2 kids, over actively helping Alex heal.
And that failure to engage just made his resentment deeper, letting the distance grow between us piece by painful piece.
That's a really crucial point, and it helps us understand Alex's actions, his withdrawal, and later the gift, as fundamentally about self-preservation.
He was literally protecting himself from the pain, from the manufactured joy that denied his reality.
His phrase, "my silence was my boundary," is so telling. A passive protest against something deeply hurtful.
Saying, I can't participate in this illusion.
Exactly. And let's look at the mother's choices. She had legal custody rights. She could have pushed for more time.
But she didn't. Not really, in recent years.
Right, and Alex felt it wasn't necessarily out of empathy, but because being with him, the new husband, or making him be with us, was always more important to her than truly trying to rebuild our bond.
Oof. That suggests a clear prioritization of the new relationship over digging deep with Alex.
It does. Choosing to let the distance grow because facing Alex's pain meant facing her own choices, which it seems she consistently avoided.
And this wasn't just a private family issue anymore, was it? He needed outside validation.
Which is why he eventually turned to Reddit, a third party, for that community verdict. It shows how much pressure he was under, how much he needed someone to say, your pain is valid.
Diving into the psychology here, you can almost feel Alex's pain coming off the page. His world fell apart at 10. That's such a critical age.
Absolutely. The sense of self-security, it's all developing. The abandonment, the betrayal that leaves deep scars, a profound trauma.
That giant hole he described wasn't just a memory. It felt like an active, ongoing wound.
And think about the specific triggers he mentioned. The scent of his mom's perfume, once comfort, now confusion and pain.
Her trying to cuddle him, feeling invasive, false.
Seeing her happy with the new husband, igniting that familiar ache. The anniversary itself, a celebration for them, a reminder of loss for him.
All these things brought back a flood of memories that just turned into anger. He wanted to go back to when things were simple, his family whole.
But he couldn't. That past was shattered by her choice. He felt invisible, replaced, watching them playing the role of a perfect family while his childhood felt like ruins.
You can really sense the emotional exhaustion in his account. His main strategy during that stay: hiding, isolating himself.
Yeah, in his room, going out with friends. It wasn't just teenage sulking. It was a serious coping mechanism.
Trying to manage the immense effort of pretending, of suppressing everything.
Exactly. It's draining to perform a version of yourself that fits into a world that feels fundamentally wrong to you.
And the idea for the gift,
Yeah,
it came from a really raw moment, didn't it?
it did. His mom tried to cuddle him. He pretended to be asleep, but inside. So hurt, so snarky, crying angry tears.
In that moment of intense pain and resentment.
The idea for the book crystallized Anna Karenina. It wasn't random.
No. Tolstoy's classic about betrayal, adultery, consequences, family breakdown.
Yeah. It was the perfect, almost desperate outlet, a silent scream in literary form. The book became a mirror to his own family's story.
But then, after giving it, the internal struggle.
Oh, absolutely. That crushing guilt over making her cry, mixed with the burning anger and resentment, asking himself, am I really the asshole?
It shows how complex it was. Even lashing out caused him more pain, the double-edged sword of that unresolved trauma.
And we have to keep circling back to the father's role, his protective stance. He saw how much my mom's betrayal affected me, Alex says, and he wanted to shield me.
Understandable.
Yeah.
But thinking therapy would just stir up old wounds.
That's the crux of it. Sometimes stirring up those wounds, but with professional support, with a safe third party, is exactly what's needed to heal.
Without that outlet, the emotions just festered.
For years, building up into that silent protest of the gift, an act born from a decade of pain that hadn't been properly addressed or acknowledged.
Yeah. It's a tough lesson, isn't it? Trying to shield the child from immediate pain can sometimes prevent them from getting the tools they need to actually heal long-term.
It really is. And ethically, this story is fascinating because you can look at it through different lenses. Take the deontological view first.
Okay, that's the one focused on duties, rules, right and wrong actions in themselves.
Exactly. So the mother's duty to her original family, her marriage vows, she broke those through cheating, and in Alex's view, abandoned them.
From that perspective, it seems like a clear breach of duty, a moral failure regarding her obligations.
It does raise that question. Was there an absolute obligation to preserve the family unit, especially for the children?
But then what about Alex's perceived duty? Is a child obligated to forgive and move on just to keep the peace, even if the original vows were broken by the parent?
That's where deontology gets tricky. Do those familial obligations still hold the same weight for the child when the foundation has crumbled? The rules get very complicated.
And think about the pressure on Alex. Watching them playing the role of a perfect family, built on what he saw as ruins, being expected to put on fake smiles, pretend everything was fine.
Was he obligated to participate in that? To maintain a false peace that denied his own reality?
Or did he have a right, maybe even a duty to himself, to be honest about his pain, even if that honesty shattered the illusion?
It's that clash. Societal expectations of harmony versus the need for personal truth and authenticity. Okay, now let's switch to the utilitarian perspective. This one focuses on consequences aiming for the greater good or minimizing overall harm.
So less about the rules, more about the outcome.
Right. Did the mother's pursuit of her own happiness, new family, new love, 2 kids actually lead to the greatest good? Or did it cause such lasting trauma and emotional exhaustion for Alex that the calculation doesn't add up?
Or maybe she minimized her own harm by leaving without fully accounting for the impact on her son.
That's a possible interpretation. The utilitarian math is incredibly difficult here because Alex's significant suffering is a direct consequence of her choices.
And what about Alex's action? The gift. It caused immediate pain tears, the confrontation.
Yeah. But did it serve a greater good by forcing acknowledgement, potentially leading to a more honest, though painful, future? Or did it just inflict more harm, create new wounds, without a clear path forward?
It's a tough call. The community definitely weighed in on that later.
And this whole situation is just a massive test of authenticity, isn't it, for everyone?
How so?
Well, Alex's refusal to pretend, his years of silence, then the gift that was raw honesty about his pain. Painful, yes, but honest.
The alternative was that fake loyalty, that manufactured happiness that was killing him inside. He chose truth over a false peace.
Exactly. He wanted his pain seen, but then what about the mother's authenticity?
Were her attempts to reconnect authentic if she never really got to the root cause of his distance? Never really acknowledged the trauma.
Could a genuine bond be rebuilt without facing that history? Without acknowledging the betrayal and its impact? The story suggests her efforts felt superficial to Alex.
That failure to engage, prioritizing her new life, it casts doubt on how authentic those reconnection attempts really felt to him.
Right. True reconciliation likely needed a level of courage and self-reflection that, from Alex's perspective, just wasn't there.
Okay, let's get to the climax.
Yeah.
The anniversary party. The tension must have been unbearable. He described it as full of laughter and fake smiles.
An agonizing performance for him. Feeling isolated, watching them celebrate a happiness built on the ruins of my own childhood. Just wanting it to end.
And then, gift time. The moment he'd planned for, maybe dreaded too. Blank face walks over, hands her the wrapped book, Anna Karenina.
She smiles politely, probably expecting something simple. Then her eyes hit the title.
And he sees that flicker. Shock, maybe recognition, that dawning understanding of the message.
But she just says thanks, a bit flat, puts the unopened book down, and the tension in the room just ratchets up.
Wow, that silence, the unopened book. It speaks volumes.
It was the calm before the storm. The real breaking point came later that night. Alex couldn't sleep. Hears crying, loud crying from his mother's room.
He goes to listen.
Yeah, creeps out, eavesdrops. Hears her sobbing about that book and me. Here's a husband trying to comfort her, defending his wife, defending their perfect life.
And Alex realizes
his plan had worked, and it felt horrible. That's the devastating moment. He delivered the message, but the emotional cost, even to himself, was immense.
And the fallout the next morning was immediate. The tension was thick. Mom avoids him, leaves early. That silence was a message in itself, he said.
Then the husband corners him at breakfast. No minced words. Direct confrontation.
Calls him an asshole, accuses him of wrongdoing. Furious. Again, defending his wife, defending their perfect life.
And that confrontation coming from that man just intensified Alex's guilt and conflict. It totally exposed the raw, unhealed wounds. The facade was gone.
This wasn't just quiet tears anymore. This was a loud, painful declaration that his hurt couldn't be ignored.
Absolutely. And the story ends with Alex just torn apart. Crushing guilt mixed with that burning anger and resentment.
Feeling bad for causing pain. Questioning if he was the asshole.
But still feeling that deep resentment, believing she had to know, had to finally face his decade of trauma.
So the act didn't resolve anything cleanly. It just ripped everything open, created new fights, new burdens.
Exactly. No easy win. Just an escalation, a painful acknowledgement of the unburied past. The illusion was shattered, exposed.
It makes you think, could things have gone differently? What were the alternatives? Alex said, my silence was my boundary.
A desperate, passive attempt. But maybe if his mother had been receptive, more direct communication could have worked. Though that's a big if.
How could a 16-year-old communicate that level of pain without resorting to something so symbolic and hurtful, especially when he felt unheard for so long?
It highlights how hard it is to set effective boundaries when the other person doesn't acknowledge the need for them or the pain causing them. Years of silence just let the pressure build.
And this is where the lack of third-party support feels so crucial. His dad discouraged therapy.
Believing it would stir up old wounds, wanting to shield him. But ironically, that prevented Alex from getting professional help.
Help to process the trauma, handle the triggers, cope with the emotional exhaustion.
Without that safe space, that guidance, he was left to navigate it all alone, which clearly contributed to the buildup and the eventual explosion.
Therapy could have changed the whole story.
It really might have. It shows the limits of even well-meaning parental support when professional help is what's truly needed.
Looking broader, too.
Yeah.
What about co-parenting? Not just logistics, but emotionally.
That seems completely lacking, especially regarding Alex's feelings about the new family. His mother prioritized her new life over actively rebuilding that bond with him.
Even though she had legal rights she could have pushed.
Right. Letting the distance grow between us, piece by painful piece. It feels like a massive missed opportunity for focusing on his emotional needs within some kind of co-parenting framework.
A failure to collaborate on his well-being after the split.
Exactly. And you have to ask, what if the mother had initiated those tough, honest conversations years ago?
Proactively acknowledged his hurt. Apologized for the betrayal's impact, instead of waiting for the book.
Could steps like that, maybe offering therapy with him to discuss it all, have fostered healing instead of resentment?
It seems possible. It really shows how parental choices, or lack of choices, resonate for years, especially for the children.
That silence, that avoidance created a vacuum, and Alex eventually filled it with his protest.
So after everything blew up, Alex goes to Reddit. I'm at the asshole, seeking that neutral third-party judgment.
He needed to know if he'd crossed a line. Was his action born of so much hurt? Unforgivable.
And the community verdict was overwhelming. NTA, not the asshole.
Resounding NTA. Over 21,000 upvotes, 2,400 comments, massive, widespread supportive sentiment. It clearly struck a chord.
That's huge validation from strangers.
And the reasoning behind the NTA was really insightful. People overwhelmingly got his deep pain, his right to express it.
They pointed fingers back at the mother.
Many did. Arguing her actions, the initial cheating, prioritizing the new family, dismissing his pain, were the root cause.
So the gift wasn't seen in isolation.
No. It was seen as a manifestation of years of unaddressed hurt, of trauma. Commenters stressed that a child's feelings of abandonment don't just vanish because the parent moves on,
They felt his pain was continuously dismissed.
making his action, however drastic, a desperate attempt to be seen and understood, a final plea.
So the NTA wasn't just about the book. It was validating his whole experience. The community basically said, we hear you, your pain is real.
Exactly. The feeling was largely that the mother brought the consequence upon herself by failing to acknowledge the wounds she inflicted.
The verdict affirmed his right to his feelings, given the history.
It highlights this collective understanding that accountability matters, especially with children. Ignoring wounds doesn't heal them, it lets them fester. That supportive response gave Alex validation he wasn't getting elsewhere.
This whole story, it's just such a powerful reminder, isn't it? Our choices, especially in families, have these long ripples. They really shape children's lives.
Profoundly. And Alex's journey is a stark lesson. Unaddressed hurt doesn't disappear. It resurfaces, often painfully.
Avoiding hard conversations now can lead to bigger explosions later.
And Alex's act, controversial as it was, becomes this painful act of honesty. Choosing truth over that expected fake loyalty to a fragile peace. He broke the silence. There are some really crucial lessons here. First, the difference between practical help, like the dad trying to shield him, and the deep need for emotional processing and acknowledgement of trauma.
Practical protection isn't enough if the emotional wounds aren't tended to.
Second, the importance of healthy boundaries. For self-preservation, for relationship integrity. Alex's action was an extreme, maybe flawed attempt to finally set a boundary that had been ignored.
A desperate no more.
And finally, his story and the Reddit reaction points to this universal search for accountability, for acknowledgement in our connections. Huge lessons about the weight of the past, the impact of betrayal, and children's need to be truly heard.
It really forces you to grapple with some uncomfortable questions. When vows are broken, when there's deep betrayal and cheating, should family obligations always trump a child's personal boundaries and unhealed trauma?
Or does true honesty sometimes require that painful declaration, that shattering of the illusion, even if it leaves scars?
This deep dive into Alex's dilemma shows just how messy the search for resolution is after vows are broken, leaving children in the wreckage.
We really invite you, the listener, to think about this. What are your takeaways on empathy, accountability, the power of a child's voice finally finding its truth?
What stands out most to you from Alex's experience?
What might you have done in his shoes, in his mother's, his father's? It's a lot to consider.